The true crime story of Benny Lynn and Jelica. Blue and red lights cut through the cold Scottish night. Officers moved quietly toward 21 Turn Avenue in Dundee. Something felt deeply wrong about this address. The call had come in from Bristol, England. A young mother and 2 children had vanished. No calls, no texts, no trace left behind. Detective units had tracked a car across 400 miles. The vehicle led straight to this quiet residential street. Body cameras clicked on. Radios crackled. With tension, an officer knocked firmly on the front door. Seconds passed. Then the door opened just slightly. A man peered through the narrow crack suspiciously. 25-year-old Benny Lynn was from the Philippines. She was warm, kind, and deeply loved by everyone. Her sister Jelica said nobody ever disliked her. Benny Lynn was intelligent, beautiful, and incredibly dependable. She protected her younger brother from bullies at school. Her family worked hard to help her graduate. Her father, Benedicto, and sister Jelica both supported her. In 2015, she met a British man online. His name was Lexington Burke on a dating website. Romance grew quickly between the two of them. Lexington traveled to the Philippines to be with her. They married on July 28, 2018 in Samar. 1 month later, their daughter Jelica was born. On Jelica's first birthday, the family moved to the UK. It was Benny Lynn's first time leaving the Philippines. She was hopeful about her bright future ahead. She worked hard and sent money home regularly. Her family in the Philippines depended on her deeply. By late 2020, the marriage had broken down completely. Benny Lynn moved into emergency accommodation near Bristol. Her flat was on the first floor in Key. She made friends in her sheltered housing community quickly. A local group called Mums in Bath supported her. They brought food, goods, and love to her door. Despite the separation, Benny Lynn and Lexington shared custody. Jelica would spend time with both of her parents. Life was hard, but Benny Lynn kept pushing forward. By late February 2021, Lexington grew deeply concerned. Benny Lynn had stopped responding to all his messages. He called repeatedly, but she never picked up. He pushed a note through her letterbox one day. That note was never answered either. Even the social work department could not reach her. She had missed an important appointment without any warning. This was completely out of character for her. Lexington contacted the police immediately out of extreme concern. On March 1st, Benny Lynn was officially reported missing. Jelica was missing, too. So was a 7-year-old girl. That child cannot be legally named in this case. She will be referred to as Jane Doe. Throughout, Avon and Somerset police launched an urgent investigation immediately. They quickly uncovered one important lead. In the case, a car had been tracked driving into Gloucestershire. It was seen around the time of their disappearance. The car then drove north, across the border, into Scotland. CCTV footage showed the driver stopping at a petrol station. He was filmed filling up his car calmly. Police contacted Scottish authorities for help tracking the vehicle. The car was registered to a man named Andrew Ennis. He had driven all the way down from Dundee. He had picked them up and taken them north. Despite the time difference, Jelica and Benny Lynn spoke daily. On Thursday, February 18th, they had a video call. Benny Lynn was sitting inside Andrew's moving car. She was heading north, toward Scotland with him. Jelica asked to see the man driving the car. Benny Lynn flipped the camera around to show him. There were no overnight bags visible anywhere in the car. This was clearly not meant to be a long trip. A couple of days passed, and Jelica grew worried. Benny Lynn had completely stopped replying to her messages. On Saturday, February 20th, Jelica messaged Andrew directly. She asked him simply, "What happened to my sister?" The next day, Andrew replied with a strange story. He said, "Don't worry, she is perfectly fine." Jelica pressed harder and asked where. Her sister was now. Andrew claimed Benny Lynn was in Glasgow with another man. He said she had met this man online recently. He claimed he had dropped them at a cafe. He said Benny Lynn had wanted to hide from Lexington. He told Scheller that Benny Lynn had discarded her phone. Scheller begged him to let her speak with her sister. Andrew replied, "She will contact you once she settles." More messages were exchanged between Scheller and Andrew. Scheller finally asked him directly, "Is my sister alive?" Andrew replied calmly, "Scotland is a very peaceful country. Please try not to worry. She is perfectly safe." Scheller asked him to send a video as proof. Andrew sent her one, but it was an old video. He was buying time. He knew exactly what he had done. At 3:20 p.m. on March 5th, officers arrived at 21 Turn Avenue. The registered address belonged to 50-year-old Andrew Enos. His car was parked directly outside the house. A skip nearby held mattresses and heavy debris. Officers knocked firmly on the front door and waited. Andrew opened the door only a few inches wide. He spoke to police from behind the narrow gap. He refused to let them enter, giving strange excuses. He claimed he was self-isolating due to COVID restrictions. He said his daughter had just come out of the bath. But through the crack, officers spotted Jane Doe inside. She was fully clothed and watching cartoons in the living room. The officers felt something was deeply wrong immediately. They insisted firmly that he let them inside the house. Andrew reluctantly stepped back and allowed them to enter. Inside, the house was in a state of complete disarray. It appeared to be under heavy renovation throughout. Kitchen utensils were scattered across the staircase strangely. The cooker and all kitchen units had been removed. One officer spoke quietly with Jane Doe in the living room. She confirmed clearly that Andrew was not her father. They had no family connection to each other at all. Officers questioned Andrew about Benny Lynn and Jelica's location. He repeated his story about the cafe in Glasgow. He said he had not seen them since dropping them off. The officers did not believe a single word he said. Then Andrew said something that stopped everyone cold. "I killed her. She's under the floor. We got into a fight and I killed her." Officers stared at him in complete silence and disbelief. "But where is Jelica?" one officer asked quietly. Andrew said, "Under the floor with her mum. I couldn't look after a child. She was screaming." Andrew Enos was immediately arrested and taken into custody. Jane Doe was removed from the house. 2. Safety. The following day, March 6th, he was formally charged with murder. Police now had to find and recover both bodies. News of the crime spread rapidly through the local area. Residents left flowers and toys outside 21 Turn Avenue. The search for the bodies had now officially begun. Police began piecing together the full chain of events. Benny Lynn had been using a site called Filipino Cupid. She was seeking companionship after her marriage ended. Andrew Enos, aged 50, had contacted her on the site. Their chats began casually and then moved to video calls. Andrew soon tried to steer things in a dark direction. He asked her to send him a sexual photograph. She refused clearly and firmly, without hesitation. He then offered her a job as a community manager. He promised money and somewhere to stay. She said if he wanted to employ her, come to Bristol. On February 12th, Andrew made chilling internet searches. He searched for murder rates in Scotland online. He also searched for what chloroform is used for. He searched specifically for storage methods. Despite strict COVID travel restrictions, he drove to England. He travelled over 400 miles from Dundee down to Bristol. Benny Lynn took pity on him, sleeping in his car. He could not stay at her accommodation or in hotels. She agreed to visit Scotland and stay at his place for the weekend. Photographs show them smiling together in Dundee City. On February 23rd, Andrew purchased gravel and DIY tools. The very next day, a skip appeared outside his house. On that same day, police believe he murdered Benny Lynn. As Benny Lynn stood in the kitchen, preparing food, he attacked. He bludgeoned her repeatedly in the head with a hammer. He had purchased that hammer at a B&Q store in Dundee. He then retrieved a long-bladed knife from his office. He returned to the kitchen and stabbed her with it. He struck her again with the handle of the blade. All of this happened in front of 7-year-old Jane Doe. He wrapped her body in a rubble sack and a blanket. He then buried her beneath the kitchen floor. Over the next 2 to 3 days, he kept Jelica alive. He subjected the toddler to horrific sexual abuse. He then murdered her by pressing down on her neck and mouth. He wrapped her naked body and placed her under the floor. They told Jane Doe that they were in the hospital. Both mother and daughter lay buried beneath his kitchen floor. Jane Doe was interviewed, and her account was heartbreaking. She said, "Andrew had a heavy hammer and used it on Benny Lynn," she said. "I tried to call the police. I couldn't speak." She said they were playing hide and seek when Jelica was murdered. Andrew had shut the bathroom door so she could not see. She said, "I should have saved them, but I couldn't." Jane Doe was also subjected to repeated rape and sexual assault. Andrew would handcuff and gag her during the assaults. He would then give her money afterward, once £210. He tied a rope across her door so she could not escape. DNA evidence found on clothing confirmed the abuse against her. Jane Doe also tested positive for chlamydia. Andrew Enos also had chlamydia. Andrew Enos stood trial at the High Court in Edinburgh. The trial began on January 31, 2023. Judge Lord Beckett presided over the entire proceedings. Andrew admitted killing Benny Lynn and Jelica, but he denied murder and claimed diminished responsibility. He changed his story multiple times throughout the trial. First, he claimed self-defense after she attacked him with a knife. Then he claimed he suffered auditory hallucinations during the incident. Then he said she reminded him of his ex-partners and wife. He said he became apocalyptically angry and lost complete control. Psychiatrist Dr. Gordon Cowan met with Innes 8 times after arrest. He said Innes showed clear resentment toward his former partners. The doctor said symptoms were unclear and inconsistent throughout. Innes had been diagnosed with Crohn's disease before the murders. He had been prescribed steroids to manage his symptoms. His defense claimed the steroids caused a temporary psychosis, but the doctor said a psychotic person would not act so logically. The purchase of a hammer before the crime proved planning. The most devastating moment came when Jane Doe's interview was played. Jurors were visibly distressed by what they saw and heard. Some jurors were offered counseling after viewing her testimony. Andrew accused Jane Doe of lying from the witness stand, but DNA evidence completely destroyed every defense argument he made. After 5 days, both sides rested their cases completely. Judge Lord Beckett gave the jury their final instructions. After 2.5 hours, the jury returned their verdict. Andrew Innes was found guilty on all charges. He was convicted of 2 counts of murder. He was also convicted of rape and sexual abuse. Judge Lord Beckett addressed him directly before sentencing him. "You murdered an innocent woman and her 2-year-old daughter. They had trusted you and traveled with you to Dundee. These are among the very worst crimes before this court." Andrew Innes was sentenced to life imprisonment. He must serve a minimum of 36 years before parole consideration. Benny Lynn's family traveled from the Philippines for the trial. They said what happened was the worst cruelty imaginable. Her father Benedicto cries every single day without stopping. He said he has not accepted that they are truly gone. Shella still calls her sister's phone just to hear her voice. She listens to Benny Lynn's voicemail message over and over. She said, "I will always be with them wherever I go." Benny Lynn's family began campaigning for a charity called Clungan. The charity supports Filipinos living in the United Kingdom. Benedicto said, "I dedicate my life to defending women and children." Experts believe Andrew Innes may have had other victims too. Police Scotland contacted Interpol and law enforcement in multiple countries. No other crimes have been confirmed so far. All Benny Lynn wanted was to love and be loved. She made the brave decision to build a life in the UK. She deserved every chance at happiness that was taken from her. Jelica deserved to grow up, to laugh, and to live. Their memory will never be forgotten by those who loved them. Justice was delivered, but the grief will never fully heal. Benny Lynn's family stood outside the court after the verdict. They held photographs of Benny Lynn and little Jelica. Tears fell freely as justice was finally announced. Jelica spoke to reporters outside the court. She said Benny Lynn was the most loving person she had ever known. She said Jelica had only just learned to walk before she was taken. Benedicto stood silently beside his daughter throughout. He wore a photograph of Benny Lynn pinned to his chest. He could not speak. His grief was beyond any words. The Clungan charity released an official statement after sentencing. They called for stronger protections for Filipino migrants in the UK. They dedicated the campaign to Benny Lynn and Jelica forever. Police Scotland released a statement praising the bravery of Jane Doe. They said her testimony was among the most courageous they had ever witnessed. She was described as an extraordinarily brave young girl. Jane Doe was placed with a loving foster family after the ordeal. Specialists worked with her carefully over many months. Those who worked with her described her as resilient beyond imagination. Andrew Enos was taken to HMP Shot's maximum security prison in Scotland. He will not be eligible for parole until he is at least 86 years old. He will almost certainly die inside prison walls. In the Philippines, Benny Lynn's village held a memorial ceremony for her and Jelica. Candles were lit in the streets throughout the night. Neighbors who had known her since childhood wept openly. A portrait of Benny Lynn and Jelica was painted by a local Filipino artist. It showed them together, laughing in golden light. The painting now hangs in the Clungan charity headquarters every February. On the anniversary of their deaths, Jelica lights 2 candles, one for Benny Lynn, one for Jelica. She places them by the window and watches them burn until morning. Benny Lynn crossed an ocean to build a better life. She trusted, she hoped, and she loved completely. The world was made darker the day she was taken from it. Jelica never got to see her 3rd birthday. She never got to go to school, make friends, or grow up. But she is remembered, and remembrance is an act of love. Justice was delivered. But justice cannot bring back a mother's laugh. It cannot bring back a toddler's first steps. It can only stand as witness to what was lost. Remember Benny Lynn. Remember Jelica. Remember that behind every case number is a human being who deserved to live.